I never thought silence could sound this loud. The night before our wedding, the whole city seemed to hold its breath, the air thick with summer heat and something else I couldn't name. I sat by the window of her apartment, half-dressed, barefoot, watching the streetlights blur through the glass. Behind me, in a reflection, she moved, slow, careful, like every motion might break the spell we'd built between us. Her name was Clara, 46, the kind of woman who never tried to be beautiful, but somehow always was, in the way she listened, in the way her hands trembled when she pretended not to care. I was 27, and people still looked at me like I was lost when I told them I was marrying her. Maybe I was a little, but I was lost toward her. She was sitting on the couch now, tucking one leg beneath her, reading the vows she'd written earlier. Her lips moved silently, mouthing the words, then stopping halfway through, as if something in the sentence hurt too much to say aloud. "You're nervous," I said. She looked up, smiled without really smiling. "You're not." I laughed under my breath. I already know I'm making the right mistake. That made her look away. She always did that when she didn't want me to see her soften. It's what drew me to her in the first place. That quiet armor she carried, like she'd lived too many lives already. Outside, a car passed. Somewhere, a couple argued. But in this room, time felt suspended. Her favorite record played softly. An old jazz tune she said reminded her of her first love. I didn't ask who that was. I just watched her sway her head slightly to the rhythm, her hair falling over her shoulder, catching the yellow light. "You still could back out, you know," she said after a while, almost teasing. "Why would I?" "Because sometimes," she said, voice lowering, "love isn't the problem. Timing is." I walked over, knelt beside her, and took her hand. Her fingers were cold. "I don't care about timing. I care about you." She stared at me, too long. Long enough that I felt every unspoken thing between us pressing into that silence. Her eyes glistened, not from tears, but from something harder to read. Maybe fear, maybe memory. "You don't know everything about me," she whispered. "Then tell me." She opened her mouth and stopped. Her throat moved like she wanted to, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, she leaned forward and kissed me. Slow, deliberate, a kind of apology wrapped in affection. It wasn't passion, it was pleading. When she pulled back, she said softly, "If I tell you, you'll see me differently." I shook my head. "Clara, there's nothing you could." A faint vibration cut me off. Her phone lit up on the table. A message from someone named. Just one line on the screen. "He doesn't know yet, does he?" She froze. Completely. Like every sound in the room had been swallowed. My eyes flicked from the phone to her face, and for the first time, she looked terrified. "Who's that?" I asked. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Only the ticking of the clock answered. The record had reached its end, the needle scratching gently at the silence. And in that quiet, I realized I didn't want to know the truth. But the truth was already standing between us, waiting to be said. Then the doorbell rang. She turned toward it slowly, her expression unreadable. And for the first time in months, she didn't reach for my hand. The doorbell kept ringing, short, impatient knocks echoing through the apartment. Clara didn't move right away. She just stared at the door, one hand pressed against her chest like she was holding something in place. Her breath, her heart, or maybe a memory that refused to stay buried. When she finally stood, I caught her wrist. "Clara," I said quietly. "Who is it?" Her voice was a whisper. "Someone I should have told you about." Before I could ask more, she slipped free and walked toward the door. The moment stretched. I could hear my own pulse. Then the door opened, and whoever stood there said nothing. Just silence, heavy and long. When Clara came back a minute later, the color had drained from her face. "It's handled," she said softly, closing the door behind her. "He just needed something." "He?" She nodded, avoiding my eyes. "My ex-husband." The name hit the air like a secret that had been waiting for a chance to breathe. She told me once she'd been married, briefly, years ago. She never said much about him, only that it ended before she remembered who she was. But the tremor in her voice told me there was more. He doesn't matter anymore, she said. He just found out I was remarrying. I didn't push. I wanted to, but something in her tone made me stop. Instead, I sat beside her again, my knee brushing hers. That simple touch steadied both of us. After a while, I asked, "Were you happy with him?" Clara gave a small, humorless laugh. "Happy? No. I was safe. There's a difference." She turned her head, meeting my gaze. "You remind me of what I thought love was supposed to feel like before life taught me to lower the bar. That should have made me feel good, but instead it scared me. Because sometimes love with her felt like holding something too fragile. One wrong move, and it would disappear. You know, people think this is wrong," I said after a pause. "I know," she replied. "You're younger than my daughter would have been." The room went quiet. I hadn't known that part, that she had a daughter once. "What happened?" I asked softly. "She died when she was 6, Clara said, eyes on the floor. "Quel accident." After that, everything broke. My marriage, my faith, my ability to let anyone close. I didn't speak. I couldn't. The air between us thickened with the weight of her confession. And then, without thinking, I reached out and took her hand. She didn't pull away this time. Her fingers tightened around mine. "You shouldn't have to carry all of this," she said. "Then let me," I whispered. She looked at me then, really looked, like she was trying to decide if she could believe I meant it. Her eyes softened, her breath trembled, and for a long second, neither of us spoke. Outside, rain began to fall, tapping gently against the windows. The sound filled the silence we couldn't. Finally, she said, "If you stay after tomorrow, I'll tell you everything." I nodded. "I'm not going anywhere." And in that moment, she leaned her forehead against mine. Not a kiss, not yet. Just a quiet surrender that said more than words ever could. The next morning felt different. The rain hadn't stopped. It pressed against the windows, the world outside blurred and gray, like everything was holding its breath again. I woke before Clara did, her head resting on my shoulder, one hand still tangled in mine from the night before. For a moment, I let myself believe everything was okay, that whatever secret she carried had been buried again beneath that quiet, gentle calm. Then her phone buzzed. A single vibration. One new message. For me. My chest tightened. I didn't want to look, but the name burned in my head. She stirred as I slipped out of bed, her voice half asleep. "Don't," she murmured. "Please don't read it." That was the first time she ever sounded afraid of me. I froze, the air between us heavy with things neither of us dared to say. "Clara," I whispered, "what are you hiding?" She sat up slowly, her eyes red-rimmed from a night without rest. "It's not what you think. I made mistakes before you." The words were too vague, too rehearsed. I wanted to believe her. God, I did, but something about the way she avoided my gaze, the way she pressed her palms together like she was praying for the right words, made me feel like we were standing on opposite sides of a truth too dangerous to name. Then came the knock. Not the doorbell this time, just a sharp, confident knock. 3 times. Clara's face drained again. "Stay here," she said, her voice breaking slightly. "Please." But I didn't listen. When she opened the door, I was right behind her. A man stood there, late 50s tall, weathered face, holding an umbrella that dripped onto the doormat. He looked at me first, then at her. "So," he said, "this is him." I didn't know him, but the way Clara's shoulders tensed told me everything. "Ethan, please don't," she said softly. "Ethan, her ex-husband." He stepped inside without asking, eyes scanning the apartment like it used to belong to him. "You didn't tell him, did you?" he said, looking right at her. "You were always good at rewriting the past." "Stop," she whispered. "But he didn't. Does he even know why we divorced? Or how you—" "Enough," she snapped, the sound sharp enough to make both of us flinch. The silence that followed was suffocating. Ethan smirked faintly, like he'd won something. "You never could stand being confronted," he muttered. "Good luck with your wedding." When the door finally closed behind him, I turned to her. What was he talking about? She didn't answer. Her hand trembled as she poured herself a glass of water she didn't drink. Clara, I deserve to know. She shook her head, tears threatening but never falling. If you know, you won't look at me the same way. Already don't, I said quietly. That hurt her, I saw it. But instead of pulling away, she stepped closer, so close I could feel her breath. I never meant to hurt you, she whispered. Then tell me the truth. Her lips parted, a breath, a half-formed word, and then, before either of us knew why, we leaned in. Not quite a kiss, not yet, but the space between us vanished. The air trembled with everything we couldn't say. And just before our lips touched, her phone buzzed again. This time, the message lit up clear enough for both of us to see. If you don't tell him tonight, I will. By evening, the apartment felt smaller, like the walls had leaned closer just to listen. The air smelled of rain and something metallic, sharp. Clara hadn't said much since the message. She'd paced from window to counter, back again, clutching her phone like it was something alive that might bite if she let go. I sat on the couch, watching her in silence. Every minute that passed made the distance between us grow thicker. Finally, I said, you can't keep pretending I don't see it. Her footsteps stopped. See what? That you're scared of me finding out. That there's something about you that you'll walk away from, she cut in. Her voice cracked mid-sentence, the first break in her composure all day. Clara, I said softly, you keep talking like I haven't already chosen you. She turned then, her face pale, eyes glistening. You chose who you think I am. Then tell me who you really are. The words hung there. She didn't move, didn't blink. And then she laughed, low, trembling. You want honesty? Fine. She walked toward the kitchen, her voice rising, shaking with something raw. When I met you, I didn't tell you how I knew your name. I didn't tell you that I saw your photo before I ever saw you in person. That Ethan showed me. My chest tightened. What? He came to my office months ago, she said, her hand gripping the counter. He said his friend's son was seeing an older woman and needed advice. I didn't know it was you. Not until later. But by then, she trailed off, her breath uneven. By then what? Her eyes met mine, wide, terrified. By then, I'd already fallen for you. I felt the world tilt, like the floor shifted under me. So you knew. I whispered. You knew I was his friend's son? She nodded slowly. The room went still. The rain outside had stopped, but the quiet it left behind felt even louder. I didn't plan this, she said. I tried to stay away, but then you kept showing up, and you lied to me. I protected you. She snapped back, her voice shaking now. Do you have any idea what people would say? What it cost me just to love you this far? Her confession hit hard, too honest, too human. I stood, stepping closer, torn between anger and the pull that had never really left me. Say it then, I said, my voice low. Say you regret it. Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't look away. I can't. We were inches apart now. I could feel her breath, could see every tremor in her lips. My hand moved, almost without permission, to brush the side of her face. She didn't stop me. For a heartbeat, the air between us wasn't made of fear anymore. It was something heavier, desire, regret, love tangled so tightly that neither of us could breathe without the other. Clara, she shook her head, whispering don't. But when I stepped closer, she didn't move back. The phone on the counter buzzed again. Another message lighting the room for just a second. Neither of us looked, and as the light faded, so did the distance between us. Her hand lifted, trembling, finding mine. We stood there, one breath away from crossing the line we'd been dancing around for months. Then a knock. Hard. Urgent. And a voice from the hallway said, Open the door, Adam. We need to talk. The knock came again, louder this time. Adam, open the door. The voice was familiar, too familiar. My stomach turned before my mind caught up. I glanced at Clara. She'd gone still again, her hand slipping from mine like she'd been burned. Who is that? I whispered. Her silence said it before she could. I opened the door anyway. Standing there, rain-soaked, jaw-tight, was Evan, my best friend, the one who'd introduced me to her. He looked past me instantly, straight at Clara, his face twisted, part disbelief, part anger. "So it's true," he said. "You actually went through with it." "Evan, stop," Clara started, but he raised his hand. "Don't," he snapped. "I trusted you. Both of you." "Evan," I said, "you don't understand." He turned on me, voice shaking. "I understand you've been seeing my father's ex-wife for over a year behind my back." The words hit like a punch. I looked at Clara and saw the truth in her face before she could deny it. My throat closed up. "You're what?" Evan's voice broke. "She's Ethan's ex. My dad's. You didn't know?" The room blurred. My knees felt weak. "No, I didn't." Clara's voice came soft, almost pleading. "Adam, I didn't mean for you to find out like this." "You knew," I said, stepping back. "You knew and you—" "Yes," she cried. "I knew, but it wasn't supposed to matter anymore. He left me years ago, Adam. Years. You were different. You were different." Evan laughed bitterly. "You really think that makes it okay? He's supposed to marry his best friend's stepmother?" "Existit Clara whispered." But even that sounded hollow. My chest hurt. Not from anger. Not exactly. But from the slow realization that everything I'd believed about her had been half a truth. Every moment we shared had a shadow now, something lurking beneath it. "I should go," Evan muttered, shaking his head. "You two deserve each other." When the door slammed behind him, the silence he left behind was unbearable. Clara reached for me, but I stepped back. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I thought if I did, you'd leave," she said. "And for once in my life, I didn't want to be left." Her voice trembled. Not practiced, not dramatic, just raw. "I was trying to protect you from the past. I didn't want his name between us." I rubbed my face, pacing. "You should have trusted me enough to choose." She stood there, small in the dim light, her hands twisting together. "I don't know how to be loved without lying a little," she whispered. Something in me cracked at that, the confession, the shame, the truth of it. I stepped closer, close enough to smell the faint trace of her perfume, the same scent that used to make me feel at home. "Clara," I said softly, "I don't even know who I'm marrying anymore." Tears slipped down her cheeks, but she didn't move. "Then marry the part of me that still believes you can." The phone buzzed again on the counter. Another message. This one from Ethan. "You deserve to know what she's done." Clara stared at the screen and then whispered, "I think it's time you did." For a long time, neither of us moved. The glow from her phone screen faded, leaving only the dim light from the kitchen and the faint hum of the refrigerator. It felt like the air itself had weight, like even breathing too loudly might make everything collapse. Finally, Clara broke the silence. "Sit down, Adam," she said. Her voice was calm, too calm, the kind of calm that only comes from someone who's been through hell before. I didn't sit. I just stood there, staring. "Tell me, Clara, whatever this is, just tell me everything." She nodded once, slow. "After my daughter died, I lost myself. I married Ethan because I thought security would numb the pain. It didn't. He cheated, lied, and blamed me for every silence between us. When I left him, I swore I'd never depend on anyone again. And then," her voice faltered, "you showed up." I swallowed hard. "So this was just what? An accident?" "No," she whispered. "It was the first thing that made me feel alive again. But when I found out who you were, that you were his friend's son, I panicked. I thought if you knew, you'd walk away before I could prove we were real." Her words hit deep, not because they were perfect, but because they weren't. They were fractured, desperate, human. "You should have trusted me," I said. "You say you wanted something real, but you built it on a secret." Clara looked up, eyes red, tears clinging to her lashes. "Do you think I don't know that? Every time you touched me, every time you said you loved me, I thought, he deserves better than this lie." But I couldn't stop. I didn't want to. My throat tightened. I wanted to hate her, but I couldn't. Not when she looked like that, broken and brave all at once. "I told everyone about us," I said quietly. My friends, my mother. I fought for you. Her lips trembled. And now you know why I never fought back. I closed the distance between us. Do you love me, Clara? Her eyes flickered with panic. And then, finally, peace. More than I should. Then stop running. She exhaled, the sound shuddering through the room. If I stay, you'll lose people you care about. Evan, your mother, everyone. Are you ready for that? I don't care, I said, though my voice betrayed me. A crack, a hesitation, a truth I wasn't sure I believed. She reached up then, brushing her fingers against my face. The touch was light, trembling, almost reverent. You will, she whispered. But maybe that's okay. I caught her hand and pressed it to my chest. Then let them talk. Her tears fell freely now, and she leaned into me, not for forgiveness, but for relief. For a heartbeat. Everything else disappeared. The lies, the names, the past. Just us. We stood there, forehead to forehead, and I whispered, "Tomorrow, I still want to marry you." She closed her eyes. "Tomorrow," she repeated, voice breaking. Then the rain started again, soft, steady, like the world outside had decided to forgive us first. Morning came quietly. The rain had stopped sometime before dawn, leaving the world washed and still. The smell of wet pavement drifted in through the open window, and somewhere outside, a bird tried to sing through the quiet. I woke up to find her sitting by the window, barefoot, her hair tangled, wearing my shirt like it had always belonged to her. The faint sunlight caught the edge of her face, softening the worry lines she always tried to hide. For a second, I just watched her. The night before felt like a bruise, deep, sore but healing. "You didn't sleep?" I said softly. She shook her head, eyes still on the street below. "No, I kept thinking about what you said. About marrying you." A small, tired smile touched her lips. "About letting them talk." I got up, walked over, and stood behind her, resting my hands on her shoulders. She leaned into the touch, barely, but enough to let me know she wasn't pushing me away anymore. "I meant it," I said. "I don't care what people think." Her hand found mine, fingers weaving through almost absent-mindedly. "You say that now," she whispered, "but you're 27. You still have a whole life waiting for you. I don't want to be the reason it gets smaller." "Clara," I said, "we didn't make my world smaller. You gave it a reason to mean something." For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The clock ticked softly behind us. There was no grand music, no cinematic redemption, just the fragile quiet of two people trying to rebuild something honest from the wreckage of the night before. Finally, she turned toward me. "Ethan called again," she said. My chest tightened. "What did he want?" "To say he's sorry," she murmured. "Not for what he did to me, for what he did to us. He told me to be happy, if I still could." "That's something," I said quietly. She nodded, a small, almost disbelieving laugh escaping her. "I never thought he'd let go." "Then maybe," I said, "we can too." She looked at me, really looked, and in her eyes I saw the woman I'd fallen for. Not the secret, not the scandal, but the quiet, flawed human who loved too carefully and still managed to hope. When she finally spoke, her voice was softer than the morning light. "Do you still want to marry me?" I didn't answer right away. I just reached for her hand again, warm this time, and kissed the back of it. "Yes," I said, "but only if you promise one thing." "What's that?" "No more secrets." She smiled through a shimmer of tears. Then no more running. The world outside started to stir again. Footsteps, car doors, the low hum of life returning. But for us, it felt like everything had just begun. Later that morning, we walked outside together, hand in hand, no explanations, no hiding. Just two people who had chosen to love, despite everything that tried to stop them. And maybe that's what love really is. Not perfect, not easy, but a choice you keep making, even after you know how easily it can break. Did you enjoy the story? Would you want more stories like this? Romantic, raw, and human? Tell me below what kind of love story you'd like to hear next. Red Heart.